All right, so I think I've got a lot of, it looks like I've got a lot of staff here. Looks like I've got a lot of students here, and it looks like there's a handful of parents here as well, so that's cool. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you, if you happen to fall off, if you are having connection issues or what have you, this will be on the school's Facebook page, and Mr. Gutierrez will shortly get it onto the school's YouTube page as well. So it will be everywhere that it needs to be for you to access the information later or share the information with others if you need to. So the big question is, what are we doing this fall, right? Are we going back to school? How are we going back to school? What's school going to look like this fall? So right now I'm freezing in California, hence the sweater. So hi from California. I will be back in time for school. And at this point, we are giving our parents and students the choice. So we have a couple of different things going on. You probably saw the video on the school's Facebook page where it showed a teacher in the classroom. It showed a screen on the wall. It showed distance between students. If you haven't seen that video, go take a look at the school's Facebook page and watch that video. I believe that the title of it is Classroom of the Future. So if you see the letters COTF, that's Classroom of the Future, and it's going to be a common phrase that you're going to need to know. So we're going to have a couple of different options. Parents, if you want to send your kids back to school full time, you're going to be able to send your kids back to school full time. If you send them back to school full time, they are going to have to wear masks. They are going to have to distance as much as possible. They are going to be screened. Now, how we're going to do the screening yet, we don't know. We're looking at a couple of different types of technology on that, but it will be, all those standard questions about symptoms, exposure, and the fever, the temperature taking. So there will be that. There are protocols in place. We are going to have what's called an isolation room at school. So if your student begins to feel sick while they're at school, not feel well at school, when they come down to the office and they say, hey, I'm not feeling well, they get their temperature taken. If they are running a fever, they will immediately be, or showing any symptoms, they immediately put into the isolation room while we wait on them to be picked up. And then obviously everybody who's come into contact with them, as far as the office staff and teachers, there's protocol in place for that, and then decontamination protocol in place for whatever room they were in. What we were doing before, when the pandemic happened right before spring break, the students can tell you, parents, that what we had put in place was we had the Clorox wipes or Lysol wipes, disinfectant wipes, in all of the different classrooms, and they had to disinfect between every class. So the desks and chairs got wiped down between classes. The teachers were supposed to be wiping down the doorknobs inside, outside, and any touch surfaces, any high touch surfaces had to be disinfected between every single class. So that will continue to happen for anyone who does attend brick and mortar, does attend live on campus. So brick and mortar is how we refer to that. So decontamination between every single classroom. A lot of the schools that are talking about going back are talking about going back as on a what they're calling a modified schedule. Some of the summer sets are going back on a modified schedule. Our schedule for the middle high campus is already modified. We only go to 4 classes a day as opposed to 7 or 8 that the other schools go to. So we got lucky because that's what our schedule is. We don't have to modify that. They're only exposed to 4 teachers a day. So there's that. If they are in a classroom where we can't put the seats 6 feet apart, if we can only do 4 feet apart, then masks will be mandatory in those spaces. So 6 feet apart, it's not mandatory. Less than 6 feet apart, masks become mandatory. So those are some things to consider when you're making the decision. There will be sanitizer at all points of entry, sanitizer going into every single classroom. So that will be across the board. So that's what going back to school looks like. So distance where we can, masks where we can't, disinfectant between every class, sanitizing between every class. And as far as like the lunches, our kids already eat outside. That's one of the things that the CDC said was let the kids eat outside. Our kids do that anyway. They're already outside. We do have a cafeteria. So what we would do is we would have to, again, touch surfaces, getting sanitized. They wouldn't be able to hop seats. Their seats that we would put the blue tape X's on the chairs, on the seats, on the benches. So to show that they're distance, because when they're eating, they can't have their mask on. So they have to maintain 6 or more feet there. So it would be a scaled down number of students who could be in the lunchroom at any given time. So not a whole lot of changes because we were kind of doing everything right to begin with. So, but a few. So then option number 2 is what we call RLI, remote live instruction. And RLI is what we did in the spring. Now, if you are a parent who's new to us or a student who's new to us this year, you may not be aware of this. Or if you're a Bethany parent, you may not be aware of this. We The rest of the schools in the district, they all went to that, like they saw their teachers a couple of times a week, if that. I know they did like packets. It was very, was the difference between synchronous and asynchronous is very asynchronous, where it was very much student led. We kept classes, we kept school going. Our kids logged in at a specific time, switched classes, had lunch, came back to class, and saw all their teachers all day, every day, basically a regular schedule. The only modification that we did in the spring was go from 90 minutes to 50 minutes. That's really the only modification we made. And then we didn't miss a beat, where the rest of the district, took that week off to figure out how to do it. We already knew how to do it. We came back immediately. We didn't miss a beat on that. So that's RLI. That's the remote live instruction. We're trying not to call it virtual, because virtual is that asynchronous type of instruction where the students have to lead themselves, basically. So for us, it's not virtual school or virtual education. It's live remote education. So you will be able to stay home and attend classes. The difference between the spring and now in the fall will be, in the spring, we did modify. We went to that 50 minutes with that really long lunch and the 10 minutes between classes. It won't look like that. It's going to look exactly like it does at school. It's going to be 5 minutes between classes. It's going to be your 50-minute lunch. It's going to be 90-minute long classes. It's going to be identical to what we have on campus, brick and mortar. So you're going to be in classes, students will be in class virtually, remote, their peers who are there in person live. So again, if you go back and look at that one video that I posted a couple of days ago, one of the things that you'll see is that every classroom has a camera in the back of the classroom, and that camera is a tracking camera on the teacher. So as the teacher tracks the teacher. And so if you're sitting at home in class, remote learning, you're going to be able to see that, and you're going to be able to see all the other kids in the class, as well as like you see right now on the Zoom thing, where you can see everybody who's here. So everything that the teacher does on the Promethean on the board up front is going to show up on your computer screen. So it's like sitting in a classroom, but you're sitting at home. So you'll be able to see everybody, interact with everybody, raise your hand, like everything you guys did this fall, just participating with a class. So what that option does, so the parents who want to keep their children home and do RLI, because they're not comfortable sending them back yet, or maybe you're high risk, health wise, If that's the case, then your student still gets to interact with their classes, with your teachers, with their classes. They still get that full 90 minutes. There will be, in the spring when we were trying to get used to it, there was a lot of leeway for, oh, I have technical issues, oh, I couldn't log on, well, I had to use the bathroom, like that, those kinds of things. All of that, we've done it. We spent 9 weeks doing it. We don't need to go through that again. So in the fall, it's gonna, if you're doing RLI, it's gonna be just like school. You have to be there on time. You have to get permission to get up and go to the bathroom. You have to, there's not going to be the same grace that was given in the spring when we were trying to figure it out, because now we know what we're doing with it. Okay. Now there's a third option on the survey that you guys are going to be given when you tell us what you want. And that third option is called FCL. FCL is flexible combined learning. And what flexible combined learning is a combination of on-campus brick and mortar and a combination with the remote live instruction as well. So what that means is it would be like every other day or every other week. So maybe half of the kids would come to school, or half of the kids who want to do this would come to school on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then stay home on Tuesday, Thursday, or like the first week of school, second week of school, like an alternating days or an alternating weeks thing. So that's what that option would look like. So on the survey that you guys are going to get, and this is for the kindergarten, this is for the elementary campus for Bethany. This is for the elementary campus, the middle high campus, college prep. So this is K through 12 is who we're talking to right now. The preschool program, I just saw a question pop up about the preschool program, the 1-year-old through 4-year-old. We'll talk about that separately at a different meeting. This is for kinder through 12th grade right now. So again, we'll be able to alternate. You'll have to be, if you choose that flexible learning, then you'll have to choose if you want it on days or weeks. You won't be able to change your mind midstream. You'll be locked into that choice. So you'll be in group A or group B with whatever the rotation happens to be. On the survey that you guys are going to get, there's a fourth spot on there. So there's the brick and mortar, there is the RLI, and then there's the FCL, and then there's another option, and the other option is enter an option you want us to take a look at and review. If there's something that we haven't considered, or maybe we have because we've gone through a lot, and it just didn't become an option. But if there's an idea that you have that you want us to review, you can put that into the survey and we'll take a look at it. For the kids who choose, for the families who choose to do brick and mortar, who choose to send their children back to school. So then there's the question, what if my kid is showing symptoms? What if my kid doesn't feel sick? What doesn't feel good? What if my kid gets sick or develops COVID? What happens? They chose brick and mortar. Now they're going to be out of school for 2 weeks. What about attendance? So if you choose brick and mortar, if you choose to come to school on campus, if that's your choice, then everybody that's attending there, if you get sick, if you have a day off, if you need to stay home, you don't feel good, whatever, showing symptoms, being tested, quarantined, whatever it is, somebody in your family, and then you have to be quarantined because of somebody in your family, you will default to RLI. You'll automatically default to RLI. So if you're not feeling well and you don't want to come to school because you don't know, or you're just not feeling well, or you have a doctor's appointment and you don't want to lose the whole day, then you go into your classes RLI on the computer for your remote live instruction. So you don't get to choose RLI or in person each day. It's an attendance thing, so it doesn't count against you. So being absent doesn't count against you, because remember, our policy is that you have to have a doctor's note. Well, in this day and age with things the way they are right now, it's not realistic to have a doctor's note every time we stay out, because I want you to stay out anytime you think you might be symptomatic. And you could have an allergy attack on Monday and think, oh my gosh, don't know what it is, so let me stay home. And then by Tuesday go, you know what, that's allergies. I'm good today. I took some Benadryl. I'm fine. and then ready to come to school on Tuesday because you know for certain what it is. So in that case, that Monday when you stayed home, you would be doing the RLI learning. You just go to classes online. And that's one of the reasons that that online schedule is not going to be um, not going to look like it did in the spring where it's like 50 minutes and 10-minute passing and 2-hour lunch. It's why it has to mirror what's happening at school. It has to mirror what's happening at school because you have to be able to do either one. So we don't want anybody losing. Let's say you do develop it, or somebody in your house develops it. 2 weeks being quarantined, 4 weeks if you're actually sick, 5 weeks depending on your health situation. The way things are right now, you can't afford to miss that much instruction. And since we know how to do it now, since we know we had such a successful spring semester, this looks like it's going to be the best way to do it. If you choose to do brick and mortar, that you'll default to RLI if you can't come to school. If you are now, let's say you're sick or something's wrong and you're not brick and mortar and you're not in your RLI class, then you're absent. That's an absence. So that absence needs to have an excuse, a doctor's note to be excused. So we'll take the, hey, my kid's sick, so I'm going to have them log in on RLI. Okay, no problem. That's still full attendance. But my kid's sick and too sick to log on, from home on a couch, then maybe you need medical attention. So then we do need that note from the doctor for that. So those are your options. You have the full brick and mortar, so on campus brick and mortar with distancing where we can, masks where we can't distance. The RLI completely stay home remote learning, or the flexible learning where you can do both. For scheduling purposes for school, for us putting our master schedule together, for us building your student schedules and figuring out what classes need to be offered and what you need to take. For that, what we need is what is easier. What is easier is if everybody picks either the home or the RLI. If we have a significant number, if we have a majority that choose the flexible option where they want to come every other day or every other week, then we will have to figure out how to do that. We have not put pen to paper on that plan yet because with parents working and things like that, we don't see that is going to be a popular option. But it may be. And if it looks like it is, then we have to develop that plan, which means that I won't have information to you for another week or two. But if that's not a majority option, if the majority is one of the other two or an even split, then that's easy. So basically, it's about parent choice. One of the other questions that is going to be on that survey for you, for both campuses, College Prep and Bethany, is if you are choosing brick and mortar, if you are choosing to come to school, do you need bus? So you may have signed up for a bus, you may have been on a bus the last couple of years, but your parent may say, you know what, I want you to go to school, but I don't want you to be in a tin can. But if you are going to be on a school bus, if you need a seat, you're going to need to pick that on the survey that goes out. So it's like, do you need transportation? Yes or no? If you're going to ride a bus, on the bus, masks are mandatory because that is a very small, confined space where we can't distance you. It's not possible to distance you. If we were to distance students on a school bus, we're talking maybe 10 kids on a bus that seats 75 kids. So it's just not an option. So masks are mandatory on the bus. So consider that when you make the decision to choose bus or to not choose bus service. For the Bethany campus, you're going to have one more question on yours, and it's going to be, if you're choosing to come to school, if you're choosing brick and mortar, do you need aftercare? Are your parents going to put you in aftercare? Well, I guess Bethany's elementary, so I'm talking to parents, not students. So parents, are you going to choose aftercare for your kids? So that needs to be on there because we need to know whether or not we need to plan to offer it or not. If we have less than 20 kids who want aftercare, we won't run the program. So those are all the questions that are on the survey. All the questions are mandatory. If you're a college prep parent, then when you get to that section for like Bethany, do you need aftercare? You're just obviously going to click no. So is that it? So that's the survey. Those are the options. The classrooms, talked about that, disinfecting, how we're going to handle it, screening. Talked a little bit about the isolation room, but there will be more. There's a lot more to that. I think that's all the information that you guys need. I see I had the chat box closed, but I can see there's 46 questions there. So I'm going to open it up real quick and just kind of skim through, see if there's anything that I can answer out loud for you guys. Will they be able to stay online for the whole semester or year? Yeah, so it'll be because of the way that we run our schedule, because August to December is a year for us and January to June is a year for us. Let's say that your family, you decide that it's best for your family to do RLI for the fall semester, you can do that. Let's say in November, December, you decide, you know what, things are better and I'm tired of being at home, I want to go brick and mortar. Then you would need to, before the end of November, send an email to admin and to guidance and say, hey, I'd like to be, in person brick and mortar come January. They'll have to take a look at your schedule, make sure there's not too many bodies in the classrooms and that it works. But we can figure that out. It may mean a schedule change for your spring semester, but that's an option. You won't be able to change if you choose all RLI. You won't be able to change your mind in like September, October, November for the fall semester, because those numbers in the rooms will already be set. Keep in mind that our class sizes now are no longer dependent on how much attention the teacher can give you, but dependent on how we can space safely in a classroom. So changing your mind at the end of a course is an option. Changing your mind mid-course is not an option. Changing your mind going from brick and mortar to RLI is an option. Going from RLI to brick and mortar mid-course isn't an option. If we do remote live learning for the first semester, yeah, will you lose your bus seats? If we you won't. I don't know. My first inclination is you're not going to lose your seat, because there's going to be so many parents who don't want to put their kids on buses, especially because of having to wear the masks on buses. So my first inclination is no, it shouldn't be a problem, but I don't want to tell you that and then be wrong. And I don't know how. I haven't had a meeting with transportation, so I don't want to address the losing bus seats. Okay, it looks like Mr. Tredor answered that, that it's possible you could lose it. It's possible. There's a question: if a student tests positive, does everybody from that class as well as the teacher exposed go into a 14-day quarantine? That's a good question. I know that in the spring, the answer to that would have been yes. I don't know if the guidelines on that are changing. I would think so, but I don't want to give a definitive answer until I'm given guidance on that. 1 to 4-year-olds, there's going to be a separate meeting for them. Working parents rely on brick and mortar. What if we lose our bus seat? So if you're deciding on brick and mortar for August, then that's your decision. You've got your seat. If you've already gotten a seat on the bus, you're not going to lose it. You're good for August. Losing your seat's only an option if you decide to do RLI in the fall and then change your mind and want to do brick and mortar in the spring. I think that's the only way that might happen. We're still running buses. We're not going to stop running buses. We're still running buses. will selecting the RLI option prohibit a student from returning to the classroom in person when comfortable to do that? It will if it's mid-semester. So again, if you choose RLI in the fall, you have to wait till January to choose brick and mortar. You can't go brick and mortar from RLI in the middle of a semester. You can go RLI from brick and mortar, but not the other way around, because we're doing it based on numbers in the classroom and spacing. Let's see, UC guidelines. You point at which RLA. Okay, brick and mortar means on campus. If a student is using RLI, still have OT and speech therapy through Zoom? Yes. So if you choose RLI and you are an ESE student and you're supposed to have PT, OT, speech, whatever services that we provide, that you're supposed to have based on your IEP, if you are RLI, you will still receive those services the way that we did in the spring. Ms. Fuchsman will still be in charge of, coordinating that, making sure that happens. So specific questions like that, just shoot an email to her, but it will happen through a Zoom meeting. If you're RLI, happen through a Zoom meeting the same way that it did in the spring. When does the choice have to be submitted? That's a good question. So the survey is going to go out to you as soon as this meeting's over tonight. So that survey is going to go out through, I'm going to put a link to it here. And then it's going to go on the Facebook page. It's going to be text blasted out to you guys. It'll go out through Schoolmint email, Skyward email, all the different ways that we communicate. It's going to go out to you guys that way. We are working on finalizing schedules. So the sooner we get it, the better. Especially if you're choosing brick and mortar. If you're choosing brick and mortar, I really, really, really need those decisions made, because we need to be able to look at those classes and those setups. So I would say by the end of next week, if at all possible. Okay, speech answered that one. To clarify, if I have a student entering 9th grade, she can stay online for either the entire semester or whole year, depending on parent choice. Option discontinue. Yes. So to clarify, for the parent who's saying they have a 9th grader entering for the first time this fall, you can stay online for the entire first semester or for the whole year. Yes. The online option will not be discontinued mid-course. So if all of a sudden they come up with a vaccine for it, or a miracle cure happens and COVID no longer exists in October, RLI will continue until the end of December, until the end of that course. Obviously, that's not likely to happen. So, but if things get under control or what have you, we're not going to make any major changes until the following school year. So we would finish it out. We would definitely finish out each course the way it is. So the fall semester, the spring semester. The first day of school as of right now is August 11th, maybe, possibly August, whatever it is on the calendar. Hold on, let me look. Unless somebody wants to speak up and unmute themselves.
August 10th.
August 10th. Thank you. So August 10th. Because we follow the district's calendar. Now, you may have seen where Palm Beach County pushed the start of school back today. I don't know what St. Lucie County is doing, but we do follow the St. Lucie County schedule. First day, August 10th. Yes, thank you. How will transportation work for Bergen? Transportation, again, wearing masks, mandatory. The buses will be sanitized before and after every route. So they'll be clean when they pick the kids up in the morning, and then as soon as kids get off at school, they'll be cleaned and sanitized again. And then when the kids get off again in the afternoon, same thing. How you'll be making your selections is on a survey. And when, again, from the time I give you the survey link in a few minutes to the end of next week. Third choice is flexible. If you do RLI, how will you get books? So it'll be the same kind of sign out situation where we had in the spring. So where if your course requires a book, if it's not online or available for download online, then it'll be the same thing. You'll sign up for your time to come get your books. So, yeah, and all the teachers' websites will, as always, have all the information that you need. So as far as laptops being provided, again, the same way that we did it in the fall, if you have your own devices, we need you to use them. If you need to check out devices and become responsible for them, then that's an option that we are able to explore until we run out of devices. So again, only take advantage of that if you absolutely have to, because we do have families who do need them, and we if we have brick and mortar kids, we obviously need them at school also. So we need to make sure that we are that we have enough to go around. Are parents required to purchase school uniforms for RLI? Well, what we did in the spring was we told the kids we preferred them to be in their school, at least their school shirts. I know I got pictures of some kids where they were in their school shirts and pajama bottoms, which is fine. So I guess probably not like as many sets as you would if you were attending brick and mortar, but at least the one shirt, yeah. If I choose one option, December change my mind. Yes, you can answer that one. So the preschool question, preschool is supposed to run until 6 as a standard. That's hours of operation. That's like aftercare would run till 6 p.m. also. But preschool itself, the schedule for preschool is on the website, and we're going to have a meeting specific to the 1 through 4-year-old preschool program also. So we'll address that at that meeting. After school or lunch tutoring, how will that work? That is a really good question. So RLI, it'll work the same way that it did in the spring. The teachers' rooms will be virtually open for lunch tutoring and after school tutoring, their hours. It'll go back to being the shortened after school hours, obviously, because we're doing a regular, 90-minute class for a day. So, and then on campus, how will it look for brick and mortar? Again, distanced, masked as needed, and disinfecting the rooms as they come and go. Okay. Brick and mortar next year. Yeah, so you're not giving up your seat. If you choose RLI or you choose brick and mortar, or you choose the flexible thing, if we end up offering that, you're not losing your seat by going full RLI. You still have a seat in the school. And then the following year, you can reevaluate and do brick and mortar or do RLI again, or if it's being offered, if it's still an issue. You're not going to lose your seat. The question again about kids needing to quarantine if one kid tests positive. Again, I kind of need some guidance from the people above my pay grade on that one. My initial instinct is yes, but I'm not sure. 6th or 12th grade that campus does not offer aftercare because we have clubs and tutoring and stuff like that. We have stuff after school, so we don't offer a paid aftercare at the middle high campus. Caleb, the whole conversation's been about you're in school or online, depending on what you want. You have to fill out the survey. Answered the uniform one already. With the students attending in person and online, what will the teacher to student ratio be? What a good question. So because it is online as well as in person, the student-teacher ratio can be higher, and it will be higher. So in a normal non-pandemic world, you may have anywhere from 18 to, depending on the course, PE could have 40 kids in the classroom. So depending on what the course is, has always, in the size of the room has always dictated the number of kids in the classroom, and the teacher has always dictated that. So with having the RLI option, it, with state law, it lifts those class size mandates. It makes that not apply. So they haven't told us there's a cap. Now, I can't imagine being a classroom teacher having, 10 or 12 kids in front of me and 30 kids online. I don't know how that would work for my teachers, and I don't know if all my teachers would walk if I were to do that. But that's something that admin has to talk to the teachers about, and we haven't been given guidance on. We haven't been given caps on that. So I don't know. Right now, there's not a cap on that. What about sports and volleyball? So right now, I actually have a summer conditioning proposal packet that I am reviewing, and I have to meet with Mr. Rivera to finish working that out. But they haven't taken sports away from us yet. We do have, like, for the summer conditioning, we do have to be careful. Like, there can only be one ball per student. They can't share a ball and stuff like that for conditioning. So I don't know what that's going to look like during season. Like, you can't, like, if you're playing basketball, there's one basketball to the 10 kids on the court. So I don't know what that's going to look like. But whatever the Florida High School Athletic Association tells us to do is what we're going to do. But right now, sports, as of today, sports have not been canceled. Don't know what it's going to look like, but it hasn't been canceled yet. Okay. If we, the student, can come up with a legitimate schedule that works for school and class time and our safety, can we forward a calendar time long to you and the office staff? Jade, the survey that you're going to get, there is an option. There's a box for you to type in a legitimate schedule, an option that you want us to consider. So yes, we're asking for your input. Okay, what sports will be offered? Same ones as always. I don't know if we're adding any extras. I know there was a survey that went out about interest in sports. I don't know if that survey is still open or not. Any athletic related questions, please email them to Mr. Rivera. Mr. Rivera can throw his email address up there in that chat box, and you guys can email him directly for sports related questions. Yes, online learning. Football was never an option being considered. We've never considered football ever. So no. But I like how you threw that in there. DE. So it'll work the same way. Students who are in DE classes, your schedule at the college supersedes everything else, and we build your schedule at the high school around that. Obviously, transportation is on you. There's no change there. Your dual enrollment classes are your responsibility if you choose to do it. What happens if the majority picks brick and mortar? If the majority of students pick so it's not a majority for RLI or brick and mortar. You get to choose. You're not voting. It's not, okay, if the majority wants brick and mortar, we're all doing brick and mortar, or the majority wants RLI, we're all doing it. You're actually going to get to choose. Teachers are going to be in school teaching, and you get to choose whether you're going to be in the classroom with them or at home in a online class with them. So both of those are an option. We just need to know which one to schedule your kid in. As far as the majority picking brick and mortar, that would mean that there's more bodies in the room. So the less distance that I put between you, if the distance between students is less than 6 feet, then masks become mandatory. So that's the result of the majority picking brick and mortar, is masks become mandatory. If I have a classroom that has 6 kids in it, or 4 kids in it, and I'm able to maintain that 6 feet between kids, those kids in that room for that class period don't have to wear the mask. But maybe their very next class, they've got 15 kids in there, and there's only 4 feet between them or 3 feet between them. Well, then they have to wear their masks. So who picks what dictates how stringent everything is in the classroom itself. Uh, yes. Will preschool still plan to be, again, preschool will be a separate meeting. I don't even have that information in front of me. Yeah. When do new students get to, if you're a new student, you should have already done, if you're new incoming for the first time family, you should already have done your transportation request form and all your paperwork. If you haven't, you need to reach out to Ms. Zerger ASAP. Um, No, if we have students in different grade levels and choose a mixed schedule between RLI and brick and mortar, which is the that flexible learning. If you choose flexible learning, will schedules be coordinated so they attend on the same days? We cannot guarantee that. We can tell you we will do our best, but that is not something we're able to guarantee right now. And it depends on your student, the courses they need, the courses that they may, if they're in different grade levels, they need different classes, when they're going to be offered, how many bodies are in each one. So that is absolutely not something we can guarantee. We can try, but we can't guarantee it. No, it's not a vote. You're not voting. You're telling us what your choice is. Again, it's not an all or nothing. This student may want RLI. That student may want brick and mortar. Okay, fine. The only thing that's not definitely offered is the flexible learning. That one's not definitely offered. The other two are definitely offered. The flexible learning comes into play if there's a huge demand for it. If somebody doesn't complete the survey, you're going to get bugged with phone calls. How classes work with dual enrollment? Already talked about that. If you choose RLI, how will they take the assignments and quizzes? The same way we did in the spring. I'm going to guess that this is a not private. I'm sorry, a new incoming family with that question. The teachers gave their assignments through their online learning platforms through Collegia in the spring. They'll continue to do that going forward. Quizzes, the teachers all have their different ways of doing that. So it's up to the individual teachers. I know that our company's trying to create, or maybe they have recently created, a secure testing platform. It was something all the teachers across the companies were, across the schools were asking for as a way to give tests that would keep the kids from being able to access other websites and would indicate if the kids were like on their phones or something like that. Not sure how technically that kind of stuff works, but I know it was something that was being worked on. How do you know if you passed the grade that you were in before? Look on Skyward. Your final report card from this last year is there. So look there and that will tell you whether or not you progress to the next grade level. If you choose both online and brick and mortar, do we go back every other day or every other week? That's on the survey. So it'll ask if you choose the flexible learning. The next question after that is, do you prefer every other day or every other week? Again, the flexible learning schedule is not done. It is not set in stone. So I don't know yet. I have to see what you guys want and then figure it out from there. When it is time for EOCs and FSA testing, choose. Okay, so we don't know if the state is going to make us test this year. They have not. The state has not made the decision on FSA, EOC, or FCAT. We have no clue what the state's doing. If the state does make us take the tests this year, then we will have to figure out how to do that. Students who choose RLI, if there's a test that they need to take, I don't know, some sort of a diagnostic test or progression test or what have you, we may, and it says it on the survey, we may have you come in small groups to do small group testing. My guess is if you're RLI and the state does make us do state standardized testing, that we'll have to figure it out that way. We'll have to bring you guys in small groups, like 10 to a classroom, all spread out with masks, things like that. But that's not, we don't know yet because the state hasn't told us whether or not we're doing that. will the students need to wear masks during gym? So my understanding that is not healthy, that is not okay, they can't breathe. So the answer to if they are exerting any type of energy, if they're running jumping jacks, whatever it is PE teachers make them do, that they will not, and that they will be spaced enough that they won't, they'll be either 6 feet apart. They won't be close together, so they should not have to. Now, if it's part of the gym class where they're sitting in class and reading book, they're going over like the health stuff of it, then yes, depending on spacing, yes. Let's see. You mentioned before we chose. You mentioned that even if we choose RLI classes for class, we'll be under brick and mortar time. Yes. So it'll follow the same schedule. So the first period runs 8:15 to 9:50, I think. And then there's a 5-minute passing, and then second period starts. So yes, our exact schedule, our exact bell schedule in the building is what the RLI students will follow also. Tryouts for sports, again, email Mr. Rivera on that. Uniforms was addressed. I already talked about everybody going into quarantine. Looks like it's a lot of the same questions again. Just give me a second to scroll, make sure I got them all. How will you be getting your schedule on campus or online? That's a good one. So once schedules are done and finalized, you'll get that email blast that you always get. You'll be able to log into Skyward and see your schedule there. And then, as always, we'll have copy for brick and mortar kids. We'll have copies for pickup coming through if we need to. We may end up not being able to do that because that's a lot of touch surface space. Definitely on Skyward, you can definitely access it there. We'll evaluate other options on that one. And if you're RLI, then definitely on Skyward also. And what time does school usually end? 3:30. For the 6 or 12 campus, it's 3:30. For the K through 5 campus, it's 2:30. Weston, do you remember our hours at Bethany? What time is elementary over?
Elementary's over at 2:30.
Thank you. Okay. The questions regarding 504 plans and IEPs, please email Ms. Fuchsman directly. What I know for certain is that we have to adhere by law to whatever accommodations are in your IEPs and 504s and EPs. How early can they arrive on campus? So that's a good question. Normally we at the middle high campus, we let them in, I think at 7:15, I think, or 7:45, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Trigger, what time do we usually let them onto the middle high campus?
7:30.
7:30, okay. And then Mr. Weston, on the Bethany campus, we let them on as early as
6:15.
Okay. So typically we let them on and the kids kind of wander and hang out, and they go to classrooms, or they go to the spill out, or they go to the cafeteria, they go to the basketball court. I don't know what that early drop off is going to look, because we don't do before care. So I don't know what that early drop off is going to look like. It's going to require more monitoring, I think, because we're going to have to be on the kids about wearing their masks, because that's the early in the mornings when they want to hang out and they want to get close to each other and talk and things like that. So I don't know. Normally those are the earliest times they can be dropped off. That is subject to change at this point. That's something that we need to talk through. How will we address service hours for families next year? So for the parent volunteer hours of 20 a year, this past year they were waived, and anyone who'd done hours, they were already applied to next year. How are we going to address it for next year? I honestly don't know. We want the parental involvement, but I'm not sure that you could have gotten more involvement than you got in the spring semester. You guys were all helping babysit your kids while they were in school online. I think there was a whole lot of involvement there. Um, we're going to have to reevaluate that also. I don't know the answer to that right now. And I know you guys are hearing a lot of I don't knows from me. And what I want you to know is that what we've been worried about is how we're going to go back academically. So all the other stuff, it's not stuff that we've really been focused on or thought a whole lot about, because it's been, how do we make sure that we can have kids here and be safe? So our focus, I guess we've been kind of single-minded on this. And now that we've been able to make these decisions, we'll be able to start looking at all the other questions that you guys are asking, the other parts of being at school. So I apologize, but can parents see classroom setup before choosing? If you're talking about at the middle high campus, the classrooms are what they've always been. And if you were to look at a classroom right now, they look like they did last year. If you're asking, are we taking desks out of the room? Are we taking chairs out of the rooms? And you want to see that? No, because I don't have any place to put them. So even if there's only 10 kids in the room, there's still going to be 30 desks in there. There's somebody knocking on my door. I guess I'm going to ignore it. I'm completely distracted. I apologize. There will be, all the desks and chairs are still going to be in the classrooms because of, I don't have any place else to put them. So if you looked, it wouldn't look any different. If you're talking about for the Bethany campus, we got all the new floors laid for almost all the buildings. Got one more building to go. All the paint is done, and the furniture has not been delivered yet, so there wouldn't be anything to see there. But we will be doing virtual tours. The middle high campus, the construction is still going, so we the specialty building in the gymnasium is set to be done October, November. So hopefully by then we'll be able to figure out how to do some sort of tours. Okay, schedules, we did the hours. No, Bethany campus is not off Darwin. It's off Bethany in, no, okay, so the parent talking about Sassel, you're in the wrong meeting. This is for Somerset College Prep on California, and for Somerset Academy Bethany on Bethany and St. Lucie West. Sassel, Somerset Academy St. Lucie, is the one off Becker and Port St. Lucie Boulevard. Different campus. That's not mine. That's Miss Roach's. At what point will we enforce a specific ratio, meaning we'll only allow a certain number of students in class? So different classes are size, like a lot of our classes at the middle high campus are the same size. There's a handful of larger rooms. With the two new buildings, those spaces are going to be different size also. With the Bethany campus, they're all different sizes. So I can't say a specific number. If you're talking about the brick and mortar option, again, either 6 feet or masks. That's what the CDC guidelines are. It's not 6 feet and masks, it's 6 feet or masks. So if we have to do 4 feet or 3 feet, then masks are going to be mandatory. I can't imagine that we're going to want to do more than 3 feet, 4 feet. I mean, we still want to be safe either way. So I don't have an answer to that at the moment. But we're not going to shove them into rooms and risk their safety or their health. How do you sign up for the tutoring program? Depending on what classes you need tutoring in, you just need to see your instructor on that. They have their different, I think math is Mondays, science is Tuesdays, I have no idea, but it's a different subject each day. That schedule is on the calendar. The students will know those schedules. Are there still going to be clubs for 612? Yes. Same as in the spring, we continued with clubs, even though we went remote learning. So yes, the answer is yes. As far as how do you learn about them and sign up, morning announcements. So the morning announcements will still be posted on the website, same as they always have been, as well as shown live in the classes. So that's where that information is. The mask is not required to be an N95 mask. No, it does not have to be an N95 mask. Is there still cheerleading? As far as I know, yes. As far as I know, all the sports until the Florida High School Athletic Association tells us otherwise, all sports are still a go. Swimming, I don't know. Send your athletic questions directly to Mr. Rivera. So, Gunnar, you asked about cloth masks or school colors or uniforms or Somerset logo. So I am currently trying to have masks made for the school. We're talking to a couple of different vendors. So if you want, like, I don't know if you guys saw graduation or not, but I had the masks made that said class of 2020 on them, which is, I thought was kind of cool. It's in our school colors. That was the maroon and the gold. So what I was thinking about for the kids who want to come and do it brick and mortar was ordering masks with your house colors and your house logo on them. So I was thinking along those lines. So we've reached out to a couple of companies to get some quotes and some mock-ups. I don't know where we are in the process. I should know we've reached out and asked for some samples and some options. But I thought that'd be cool. I mean, we could always do, just for those that don't want to identify with your house for whatever reason, we can always do just regular school colors. But then the house ones also. But I think that at this point, I think those would be optional and for sale in the office. If you have your own, I mean, there are some people who only want to do the N95 masks, or who, can't have certain material or whatever. So if you wanted to do your own from home, we don't care where the masks come from. You just have to wear them. So yeah. If you're doing RLI, can you still do sports? I think so. I think so. I don't see why not. You're still a student, so I don't see why not. Send that one to Mr. Rivera. We'll probably have to talk off the books on that one. But I think so. No, you're not voting, you're choosing. Yes, construction is still going on. Will we make public the survey results? Yeah. If we're able to analyze, I mean, like, not per student public, not like this kid chose this kid chose that, but 30% chose this, 40% chose that, like percentages. Yeah, the statistics, we can make that public. That's not a problem. In RLI, do they actually interact with other students? The answer to that is yes. So if you talk to some of the kids who were with us in the spring, they can explain to you how they, the teachers put them in breakout sessions. So they were still able to interact with each other, work in small group, the same as they did, when they were online in the building. So yes, they'll still be able to interact. It won't be the same as brick and mortar, but it's still there. It's still an option. The same rules do apply at the elementary. So if they're less than 6 feet apart, they're in masks. If they're more than 6 feet apart, they don't have to wear the masks. Yes, we're done with the main points about school. I'm just answering questions at this point. Participate with the instructor. Yes, the same. Everything's going to look the same. Don't know about state testing. Oh, that's a good question. Will upper class students still be able to leave for lunch? So the issue with you leaving for lunch and coming back, the issue with that is exposure and having to screen you again. Remember, when you guys get there in the mornings, we're gonna have to screen you. We have not figured out how we're gonna screen 500, 700, 1,000 students, how we're going to take the temperature of everybody and ask everybody those questions. We have not figured out how we're going to do that. So having to do it again midday because we let upperclassmen leave campus to go have lunch, and then having them come back on, having to screen them again, that is probably a privilege that's going to go away, but I don't know for certain. If we can figure out an easy way of screening, then that may be a different conversation. But right now, I can't we can't figure out how we're going to screen everybody in the morning. And then to screen, 250 11th and 12th graders who won't leave campus for lunch for privilege, plus all the DE kids that we're going to have to screen that come back onto campus from their DE classes. I don't know how that's going to work. So right now, Isaiah, the answer is I don't think so, but we'll see. One survey per child, not per household, per child. I have to have a response for every single student registered. Is there a nurse's office in the middle school? The middle high campus does not have a nurse's office per se. We are creating an isolation room per CDC guidelines. And we do have the health aides on campus who are trained. So, okay. Will dismissal be similar to the way that it's been in Carline? That's all the kids standing on the curb next to each other, really close, hugging each other as they get in their cars goodbye. Well, the hugging's going to go away. The PDA, obviously, that shouldn't be happening anyway. But definitely, I mean, we have to be more careful with this pandemic. I don't know what dismissal is going to look like. No idea. Haven't thought that far ahead. Again, still trying to just get them into classes. House days, house wars. We have to have a meeting with SGA and the house heads. So those decisions have not been made yet. Lanyards are still, if you are brick and mortar, your lanyard and ID is mandatory. If you are RLI, your ID is mandatory. So you're, especially for the first couple of weeks of school, while the teachers are getting to know you guys, you may have to present your ID even in RLI. So yes. Uniforms can be purchased from Aztec Graphics for both campus, Bethany, and College Prep. This is not for Sassel too. They have their own rules. You have to go to one of their meetings. I have no idea. Like I said, buses, transportation is a question on your survey. Am I close to done with these? I feel like I'm mandatory on buses. Okay. Are there any, will there be a music department this year? I haven't been able to find a music teacher yet, but hey, there's going to be a music room in that beautiful new building. Finding a teacher, that's a different question, Savannah. If for the brick and mortar and for RLI, Fridays will still be dressed down. As far as what you're allowed to wear for dress down, the same rules as always apply. It has to be appropriate. I have a private question. Somebody's asking about whether or not they're going to be allowed to wear t-shirts that say Black Lives Matter, or t-shirts that with thin blue line or support blue. My answer to that is that my students are intelligent enough and mature enough to be able to have differing opinions and it not be a problem on my campuses. I've never told you guys that you can't wear something that somebody else doesn't like. I've never done that. I've had the Make America Great t-shirts and hats on campus, and I've had the Malcolm X shirts on campus, and I've had all of it. It's never been an issue. The only thing you're not allowed to wear stuff with drugs on it. You're not allowed to wear stuff with guns on it and alcohol on it, that kind of stuff. You're not allowed to do that, and that's not appropriate. But the rest of it, you guys, we're teaching you to think. You have to have an opinion. You have to be able to articulate your opinion respectfully, and it doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. The minute it becomes a problem, the minute that it's an issue, then we lose dress down altogether. I don't care what you wear as long as it's appropriate. I don't care what your opinions are as long as you are respectful of others that are differing or when you're sharing yours. So, if you choose RLI, how do you do PE? So our PE teachers were really creative in the spring with doing that remote stuff. I know that I was popping into classrooms and I could see kids doing jumping jacks in their kitchens. So PE still happens, even RLI. Oh, thank you, Daniel, for asking that question. The meals, the district, I think it's statewide if I'm not mistaken, but definitely our district, breakfast and lunch is free for all students all year. And my understanding is the district is still going to provide free lunches for pickup for students who are doing RLI. We did reach out to Miss Robin today, I believe, to find out how we're doing it, what that's going to look like at our school. I don't know that we've gotten a response yet. As soon as we have that information, we'll get back to you. But I do know that breakfast and lunch is free for all students in St. Lucie County this year. Okay, we've answered that. How will you get the new IDs? Same way that you get if you're doing RLI, same way that you get books. We'll schedule the time for pickup on that. Will parents be able to pop into virtual classrooms like we can on campus? Parents can't pop into classes on campus. I don't know where that came from. Parents are not allowed to just pop in. You have to have scheduled meetings, things like that. School pictures, Savannah, how will they work? Child, that is not even something I had thought about. Pictures, it'll work with cameras. We'll get back to you on that one. No clue. All right. Are there any other questions? I know there's been a lot here. Are there any other questions about things that I can answer? Let me give you the link to the survey. Give me a second. Okay. Ms. Zerger, I assume you're there and listening, and if you are, then I really hope the survey is live and ready to go. I'm putting the link in the chat box, and it's going to be posted and blasted everywhere else in a few minutes. Oh, yearbooks come in the fall. So our yearbooks don't come in before summer. They don't come in until the fall, usually September, because if we got them in the springtime before summer hit, before we let out for the school year, then the graduation wouldn't be in it. All the things that happen in April and May wouldn't be in it. So ours always come in the fall. So when they come in, a blast will go out on that. How can we get the science notebook and artwork that was left on campus last year? If they weren't in your locker, if you didn't set up a time to, if they're in your locker and you didn't set up a time to clear your locker through the sign up genius that went out, then your locker has probably already been cleared and probably doesn't exist. If they were in teachers' classrooms, you need to email your teachers directly. Do you get to choose? Yes, you get to choose. Yes, you need to make arrangements for pickup. Lockers have already been emptied. Okay, so IRSC has canceled PERT testing. What alternative can I do to be in dual enrollment? You need to email guidance@somersetcollegeprep.org. There are certain criteria that you have to meet, and we're letting certain students, even without the PERT, take one class to try it out. So email guidance. How much students are allowed on campus for the safety of, again, it's about how we stay safe on campus, not a specific number of students. All right, any other questions? Okay, so again, if you logged in late to this or you asked a question I didn't answer because I already answered it 15 times because you logged in late or what have you, you can see the entire video on the Facebook page, on the YouTube page, on the website, and wherever else we keep these videos. But they should all be posted shortly if they're not already there. If you have questions related to classes, related to scheduling, please email guidance@somersetcollegeprep.org. Also for any dual enrollment related questions. If you have questions related to IEPs, 504s, EPs, special needs, speech therapy, occupational therapy, or physical therapy, please email Ms. Fuchsman. If you have any questions related to athletics or sports of any kind whatsoever, please email Mr. Rivera. If you have questions regarding anything else, email Mr. Tredor. And you guys all have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your summer.